Welcome back to Fox 9 All Day on this Wednesday. We're going to head across the river now to the beautiful land of Wisconsin. The latest budget passed and signed by Governor Tony Evers includes money now to establish a state film office and offers up to $5 million in film production and investment to try to lure filmmakers to come shoot movies and TV shows in Wisconsin. So joining us now, Nathan, is it Deming, I believe?
Yeah, Deming. Yeah.
Deming, an Eau Claire and LA-based filmmaker. Now, you're from Wisconsin. Are you in Wisconsin right now? Is that where you're joining us from?
I am currently in Wisconsin. It's a great day here. Hello, Minnesota.
The beautiful land of Wisconsin. Land of great cheese and beer. And you know,
a little more than that, but
a pretty good football team too, even though people don't like us to admit that here.
That's true. And I should not start off this interview oppositional, but we technically have more lakes than you guys as well. So
yeah, that's not going to go over well with people either. Although I got to tell you, having spent a lot of time in Wisconsin and with a lot of friends that have cabins there, that doesn't surprise me. I can totally see that.
They're both great. I love Minnesota.
So you helped establish. This is in the new budget to establish a film office and tax credits, incentives, etc., to lure filmmakers. Why do you think this is so important for you and for the state, for the industry?
Yeah, well, me and many other people worked really hard on this. Including the group called Action Wisconsin. It's been about 12 years since we've last had anything like these credits, which is what Minnesota and Illinois have. And it's really exciting. I mean, I'm a filmmaker from here, so I mean, I have a lot of bias where I would like to see my home state on the screen more, but also in Wisconsin, just like Minnesota, trains a lot of film school graduates every year. And in our case, most of them leave the state. So I had the same thing happen to me about 10 years ago when I finished film school and entered the industry. I have stuff I've written for Wisconsin. I want to shoot in Wisconsin, but just wasn't viable to stay here. So I'm really excited that what that can mean for the next generation of filmmakers. I'm also excited what this means for the whole Midwest of filmmaking, because as I'm sure you're familiar, Hollywood's going through like the strangest changes. I mean, it's always going through changes, but it really looks like Hollywood is leaving Hollywood.
Yeah.
And we don't know what that means fully yet, but we do know that Illinois is picking up jobs. Illinois is shooting a lot of stuff. Minnesota's shooting a lot of stuff. I mean, the template for generations has been that all of the talent that grows up in the Midwest goes to the coasts and then contributes to their, entertainment industry.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not the future. I don't know.
Well, and you've seen so many other areas that have really grown up to compete with Hollywood. And, Hollywood is, where so much is made because there's so many professionals in that 30-mile zone, et cetera, or whatever. But, you see so many productions in Canada. Obviously, Atlanta has become a big hub with studios built there. But then there's so many more productions that are just shooting in other places, partly because of the scenery or the setting involved, but partially because it is, ironically, for the place where it's the center of film production, it's gotten expensive to make films there.
Yeah, we shouldn't underestimate tax incentives, which can I attempt to explain that?
Yeah, and what the incentives are that is now coming in Wisconsin.
Yeah, because I think it's a little esoteric and people already don't like it's what are movie budgets, how do they work? It's usually a little more expensive than people realize. And a tax incentive is like this simple policy that has grown popular for a reason, which is that it's like a win-win for both the community that provides it and for the film production. So it's basically like, so in Duluth, you guys have credits in the city and the state of Minnesota. So Duluth says, I'm just ballparking the numbers. They say if you shoot in Duluth, you get 25% of your budget back. So Duluth's happy because then they bring in a production, and we know when a production comes to town, they're spending money, right? And then the production's happy because they say, oh, great, we get 25% of our budget back. Maybe we can even stretch the budget a little bit. So if you watch the credits of most of the things you watch now, things are often never set where you think they are. I mean, the amount of times, the movie might look like New York, and like a Georgia peach will come up at the last thing. The last few blockbusters that just came up were all shot in London and Dublin, which have some of the highest tax programs in the world. So all those cities you mentioned and areas, it's just tax incentives. So it's a little boring, but that's the reason. That's why these things are going where they're going.
Yeah, I remember watching the Shogun miniseries, of course, set in Japan, feudal Japan.
Yeah, where did they shoot? I read about that.
It was shot outside Vancouver.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot in Vancouver. Yeah.
A lot is shot in Vancouver, but to think that they mimicked, and of course the landscape is similar. All Vancouver. And so what do you think this will do? I mean, do you think, what are the real prospects of getting film and television production in Wisconsin?
Well, I think Duluth's a great example of what I hope to happen in Wisconsin, which is that they've built a real industry up there, and there's not just Lifetime movies going through there, Hallmark movies, which are regular employment for people, but indie movies. And then, I mean, I've heard word that there's a bigger studio movie coming to shoot there in the fall as well. That's all really exciting and what I hope for Wisconsin, and not just on the big picture, but the little picture as well, because the little guy, because our minimum spend, it means the amount that the credits are accessible, so you have to spend a certain amount, is $100,000, which is very independent filmmaker friendly. It's saying if you have a smaller budget, we'll still provide you these credits. And we had 2 hit indie films in the past year. I don't know if you've heard of them. Hundreds of Beavers, which became kind of a global hit.
Yeah.
With people under 25, and Green and Gold, which is a big regional hit. And both those movies were made uphill battle. Like I think Green and Gold, which is all about a farmer who bets the farm on the Packers winning the Super Bowl, is probably not a smart bet to make. That movie was almost filmed in Illinois or Alabama because they were offered better credit packages. So can you imagine the press tour if they'd been like, it's all about the Packers, but it's filmed in Elgin or where Elgin.
Yeah.
So
there have been a number of those, where you find out that, I mean, it's set here, but it was shot in this other state. And for that particular reason is because the money was better. It was just more attractive. It just made more sense. Now, the benefit of bringing stuff to Wisconsin, I mean, obviously there's a lot of different landscape, but how is the sort of the infrastructure in terms of hiring crew, et cetera, because that is what a lot of these, they bring some people, but they've got to hire a lot of people locally. Is that infrastructure really there?
That's a great question. It's sort of a chicken and egg with these incentives, which it will help create better ones, but we do have stuff here. Just like the Twin Cities has a really good production hub, and Chicago is a good production hub. I mean, I was surprised early on advocating with this, learning like how supportive Illinois was being to the other group members of Action Wisconsin, because they were almost saying we have too much production happening here right now, and a lot of workers are coming from Racine and Kenosha and Milwaukee to go down and work there. There's a lot of people who work in the Chicago film industry but live in Wisconsin, so they were very supportive of it moving up there. And I lost a little bit of track of your question, but I think go ahead, Rob.
Well, you're saying that there are the skilled people that production would need to be hired that are already in Wisconsin, that may be traveling to Chicago to do some of this, but they're from Wisconsin. So some of that, I mean, certainly that is part and parcel of attracting productions, is that they need to know that they're local, talented, experienced people they can hire.
Yeah, you said that better than me. That's great. And I will say we just did have 2 larger independent productions shooting at the same time in Door County and Milwaukee, and handled it just fine. There were plenty of crew people to find. So I know we have it here. I know that it'll get better though the longer these incentives are in place, because this is the starting step. But I'm really hoping that it also means jobs for people. I mean, Minneapolis is so close to Eau Claire, right? I mean, if there's a movie shooting in Eau Claire, they're going to hire from Minneapolis too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well. I mean, and there's a lot of skilled people here that would certainly go there.
Yeah. So just these incentives mean more production everywhere. So I'm just hopeful that in all 3 of these neighboring states, we can see a lot more jobs so that it's sustainable to build a career here.
No, you said this is a stepping stone, because I was thinking that, it's a $5 million annual, and that seems like, in movie production terms, That's a pretty small number. I mean, is that enough?
Yeah, and you could do some digging to get the exact numbers, but Minnesota started out somewhat similar, where I think their cap is at 25 million right now, but it started smaller. So this is like intentional, right? We're just going to dive in the deep end. We're going to grow as we grow. I mean, Texas just upped their cap to 500 million, and California is 750 million. So obviously, there's like levels to this, but I think it's a great way to start. And like I said, it's a popular program for a reason, because it's a win-win for both the communities, and then hopefully the productions who will realize there's a lot of value in filming in the Midwest. We have regional talents, regional crew, not to mention beautiful locations and all that stuff.
Certainly a lot of regional acting talent, certainly too. We got to wrap up here quick, but I just want to ask you quick before you go. Anything that you're working on that you want to tell us about?
Oh, sure. Well, so my big thing, I played at the Trilon back in February. I'm making a series of films all based on the months of the year, calling it the Year Project. I'm going to release it make it and release it over the next 10 years. I'm 2 in. I've done January, February. They're all Wisconsin stories. And so if you want to read more about that, you can go check that out. March is coming up hopefully next year.
And that's being done in Wisconsin?
Yep, in Wisconsin.
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, good luck. I'd love to see some more big productions. Minnesota had a really good run back in the 90s, and then it kind of fell a little bit. I mean, we had a few things, but
A Serious Man in the 2010s, yeah.
Yep. So it's always fun to see more work, but also just a variety on film. All right. Thanks so much for your time. Good luck with this.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
All right, you bet.